Time to put UFC 191 to bed. Ariel Helwani here in Las Vegas alongside our own Marc Raimondi. The post-fight press conference has just wrapped up. Demetrious Johnson successfully retains his flyweight title. He defeats John Dodson now for the second time, and the best news for him, I think, is that he doesn't have to answer any more questions about John Dodson for quite some time. What'd you make of his performance tonight?
Well, first let me ask you, where is my food? Thought we were doing this new thing.
That's a pre-show routine. Post-show, we're going conventional.
Thought I was gonna get some dinner out of this. No.
No.
All right. You were saying the best thing about this for Demetrious Johnson is that he doesn't talk about John Dodson anymore. I think so. I think so because John Dodson really gets under his skin, and you could tell even with when Demetrious Johnson went to Dodson after the fight and said, "Hey, good job. You know, I still respect you, even though you talk crap to me." You could still sense a little bit of condescension, that he was still a little bit irritated. There's still not a whole lot of love lost between those guys, but that is over. Dodson's it's gonna be a while before he gets back, if he ever does get back to the title fight, and DJ will move on, and we'll see what happens next.
So what'd you make of his performance?
It was, I mean, I tweeted it. I think it was pretty close to a flawless performance. Now, he didn't finish. A flawless performance, I guess you'd have to finish. But, you know, what can you say about the guy? I know that his style is not conducive to, like I said on the previous show, to a mass audience, and it's not. He's very technical and tactical, and he does everything incredibly well, and he just wins. You know, he wins, and he dominated, but he doesn't dominate in a Robbie Lawler punch you really, really hard in the face many times type of way. He dominates in a much more subtle way that not a lot of fans want to watch, and that's okay, and that's his style, and there's no one else in the division who can even touch him right now. He's a dominant champion. Is anyone gonna really be excited to watch it? Not many people will be, but you have to give the guy credit. That's just his style. He's not gonna change, and that's just who he is.
Were you surprised at how ineffective Dodson was tonight?
I thought that it was a relatively close fight for the first 2 rounds. I thought that I had Dodson winning the second round. I thought that he got a nice shot. He got a nice left hand, but I think that Johnson is so deliberate, and he's so tactical, and he's patient. And by the time the fourth round came along, I don't know if Dodson was tired or if he was injured. It looked like his nose was banged up a little bit. He got cut from an elbow, and all those little things kind of accumulated. And Demetrious Johnson was fighting as if the fight just started, and he was completely fresh and he was fine. And Dodson's body language was terrible, and he didn't even want to even be in there anymore in the fourth round, and that was it.
Nice little theme developing with Demetrious Johnson. Every time as a flyweight in the UFC, he fights a fighter for the second time. He puts on a much better performance, a much more dominant performance. Ian McCall, first fight, close, obviously ended in a draw, dominated him in the second fight.
Right.
Benavidez, close first fight, knocked him out. And now with John Dodson, close first fight, and thoroughly dominate. It to me proves just how good of a fighter he is. If you thought that he was going to make the same mistakes in the second fight, get knocked down, you know, put himself in those precarious positions, you haven't been paying attention.
Right, and it's a really unique situation, a unique setup that they have in their gym up in Washington State with Matt Hume at AMC Pancration. Matt Hume is there's really no other fighters in that camp. It's really just, there are a couple of other guys, not in the UFC, but it's really just Matt Hume and Demetrious Johnson. And Matt Hume is his personal coach, and he gets a private every day from one guy, and it's just an incredible situation. And when Matt Hume is in the corner, he'll say something, and DJ will do it. He'll say something else. DJ will do it. And Matt Hume called that one time. I heard him say, it's almost like having my own real video game where I say something and then Demetrious Johnson carries it out. And I don't think there's another relationship like that in MMA between coach and fighter. There's a lot of good coaches in MMA, don't get me wrong. But that is a really unique thing. And that relationship has led to just this incredible run of success by this guy. And I'm interested to see where it goes, even if a lot of people are not necessarily.
Yeah, I can think of a couple. I mean, I think Kavanaugh and McGregor are pretty tight. GSP and
Big teams, though. These are teams. This is a coach and a guy.
I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
Very good point as well. So DJ told us after the fight that he'd like to fight Super Bowl weekend. That's February 5th here in Las Vegas. Dana White kind of hinted that they have some sort of plan for him, that they're working on a contender fight. Matt Hume told us that he likes the Henry Cejudo fight. Henry Cejudo, of course, fighting November 21st in Monterey against Jussier Formiga. I kind of feel like that's the #1 contender fight. The timing might work. I don't know if it works for Cejudo, though. If he wins that fight, do you want him to be the next guy, or do you have another idea?
I think he's probably if you look at the 125ers right now on the roster who are there who are in that weight class, he's the next guy if he beats Formiga or if Formiga wins, and that's not a walkover for Cejudo either by any means. He's the next guy. I don't know if anyone will come down from 135. I don't know if there's anyone that would make sense to fight next. I don't know if there's anyone from outside the UFC who might come down. There was a guy who looked really good today named John Lineker who was at flyweight last few fights, but he can't make the weight. He hasn't.
Would
Really
you push him down or keep him after this great performance at 135?
I wouldn't push him down. I know that it may be tempting in a way because I mean, has the guy ever had a boring fight in his life? I mean, John Lineker is just instant action whenever he goes in there. But this is a guy who's never proven he can make 125. There's a reason why he's at 135. Looked fine there. He's a little on the small side against Francisco Rivera, but looked great. Knocked him out. Submitted him after rocking him. I think Cejudo or Formiga is the next step.
All right, let's talk about the co-main event. Andrei Arlovski continues his winning ways. He is now undefeated still since returning to the UFC. He defeats Frank Mir via decision, and it's a somewhat controversial decision. I think a lot of people, including myself, by the way, thought Mir won 2-1. It's not a robbery. It's not one of those, big outcry type of decisions, but I thought Mir did enough. Do you agree?
I thought Mir won, but I can't really get upset about it because I thought Arlovski won the first round. I thought Mir won the third round, and the second round was like almost so forgettable. I don't even remember what exactly happened, but I know that I had Mir winning it. Really, no guy really won that fight.
Are you
really
disappointed with it?
It was, I think that it was not what some people would have hoped. Because I think that when you saw Frank Mir's last two fights, first round knockouts, Arlovski has looked great. He's knocked out Bigfoot and Travis Brown, great first round knockouts, and this was just lackluster. So it was a little disappointing, sure.
What do you do with Double A now?
He's right there. I mean, he's right there.
Can't keep him for a title shot though, right? After Dana White said Verdum wants to fight in March, that means let's say whoever wins that fight, they're only going to be ready to return, given these heavyweights and how long they take, the champions. September, he'd be out for a year.
No, yeah, that wouldn't make sense, and I'm not really sure why this heavyweight title fight is going to be all the way in March. That's a very long time from now, but there is a possible potential signing out there who may fit very well with Andrei Arlovski. They have a bit of a history, and I know it's a fight that Arlovski wants very much.
Great point.
His name is Fyodor.
Fyodor.
Yeah, what you said, Emelianenko.
Oh.
That would be great.
All of a sudden, I've just woken up. Wow, that's a great call. That's a great idea. The great rematch.
Mm-hmm.
They fought in affliction. Andre said this week he gave him a gift, the flying knee. It's almost like you can't forget about it. That's a fantastic idea.
And Arlovski is not a guy that, he just kind of goes through the motions in the media. But when you bring up that topic, man, he wants that fight bad. Badly.
You like that better than Rothwell Miocic winner?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
He has a history with Rothwell as well.
He does, but I kind of do think Miocic will win that fight.
Okay, fair enough. All right, let's talk about Rumble Johnson. He kind of triples down on his ongoing feud, if you will, with the media. After he beats Jimmy Manuwa, a fine performance, he knocks him out. Nice win for him. He's back on track, walks by the media, says, essentially, make sure you guys write about that. Talks about, the BS that the media writes about him at the post-fight press conference. What did you make about all that? What did you make of it all?
I mean, I'm glad I didn't bring my yoga mat with me to the fight tonight. Otherwise, it would have ended up in the third row.
Look at you doubling down.
When Rumble walked by. No, I mean, listen, it's understandable in a sense when people don't like things negative written about them, whether or not they bring it upon themselves. It's just human nature that they're not going to enjoy that whole situation. When you're a public figure and you do something stupid, and let's be honest here, that was stupid. He shouldn't have done that. He shouldn't have written that on Facebook. Shouldn't have done what he did in the gym. When you do that stuff and you're a public figure, there are going to be articles written about that. When the UFC investigates you, when you're under investigation by your employer, you're going to have articles written about that. And if you're not comfortable with that, I understand it to an extent, but I mean, that's just the bet he made for himself, and that's just that he chose this path. He chose this path as a professional athlete in a sport, mainstream, call it whatever you want, but it's a sport that gets attention, and he's not doing curling, like he's doing something that people do care about. So This is what happens. It's happened many times before with people. Alex Rodriguez, people are involved in controversy. They get written about, and that's just how it goes. It's the way it happens.
PVZ, or as Joe Silva referred to her today, Paige Views Zant, which is an unbelievable. I have already trademarked this. Do not try to steal it.
Yes.
Paige Views Zant is a fantastic nickname because that's really what she generates. Paige Views. People love Paige VanZant. So she wins tonight. She improves to 3-0 in the UFC. She submits Alex Chambers. It's a typical PVZ performance as we've come to expect from her. Relentless, aggressive. She never stops, and then tries to go for the finish towards the end. Were you impressed by it? And now what do you do with her? Again, as we talked about on Friday, only 21 years old, but in the strawweight division, you see Valerie Letourneau getting a title shot. There aren't a lot of people now between PVZ and the champion.
Yeah, it's a tough one because I know that, again, it's tempting to push her into a really big fight, to push her into a title eliminator. She's won 3 in a row now. But no, I don't think so. I still think you need to. She's 21. She just turned 21 this year. There's plenty of time for Paige VanZant to become a big star. You build her up. You keep giving her people who incremental steps up. I'm not saying you start giving her people who just sign, but incremental steps up here and there. Someone a little bit better than Alex Chambers, and work your way up. There's no reason why she should be going in there with like a Randa Marcos or Rose Namajunas or Teach Torres, someone who's like a top 5 talent. It's too early for all that stuff.
What about like a Beck Rawlings?
Yeah, someone like that. Heather Jo Clark. Heather Jo Clark is coming back from a torn ACL. I think she'll be back sometime in the winter. Someone like that. It's someone that is a little tougher test. We can see more of her skills develop because right now I think she's very raw. She is a talent, man. Like she is an incredible athlete.
She's worthy of this hype, right? I mean, this is not just a person who the UFC is pushing because she's pretty. You don't think so?
Well, I think yes and no. I will say that she's still a prospect in my eyes, even though she's already had.
Some prospects are worth hype.
Some prospects are worth hype. Yes, but she's getting the attention that champions get. She's getting more attention than Demetrius Johnson in some cases.
By who? By the fans or the promotion?
Well, if you just look at our videos this week
but that's the fans telling you who they're more interested in. But I don't feel like the UFC is ramming her down our throats.
No. I agree with you there. But to that point, I think that I think she's worthy. I think she's a prospect, and I think that at 21 years old, for her to be doing what she's doing, she's obviously still very raw, but she could be very, very good, I think.
Corey Anderson picks up a win. Ross Pearson picks up a win. You touched on John Lineker. Anyone else you want to talk about before we say goodbye?
I mean, it wasn't. No, honestly, no. I mean, I want to talk about that Rivera-Lineker fight. That was just insanity for however long it lasted. It lasted with like 3 minutes maybe, and it was just completely insane. That was
Fight of the night.
Absolutely. I told you.
Yeah.
You didn't believe me.
Did I not believe you?
Well, I think I might have said fight of the year.
Yeah.
It probably wasn't fight of the year, but
Too short for fight of the year.
Too short for fight of the year, but I was right. It was a good fight.
I believe, and I might be messing this up, but according to Fight Metric, they combined for 100 significant strikes, which is the most amount of strikes in that short amount of time combined. Get what I'm trying to say?
Yeah, I'm getting what you're trying to say. Was that a
It's
question?
impressive.
Is that a question?
No, it's just impressive. I mean, it's worth talking about. John Lineker, who everyone was kind of down on after his multiple, missing weight at 125, continuously missing weight, goes up to 135. I had my doubts. I thought it was a big mistake for his career. I thought the UFC was rolling the dice. They were kind of killing off a contender in a division where they need contenders. Comes in there and beats a really tough guy in Francisco Rivera, a super tough guy. So, yeah. Very impressive. We had the Go Big press conference yesterday. That was fun as well. It was a nice weekend. It kind of flew under the radar, Labor Day weekend, but it was a nice time. We had breakfast together. I enjoyed this weekend.
Yeah,
Sat down with the champion.
Not so bad. And just one last thing on Lineker. I think our own Guilherme Cruz tweeted John Lineker versus Thomas Almeida next. I'm not sure where that fight would be. It might be in Brazil. I'm going to be there because
he's saying this is happening, or he wants it to happen.
He's proposing that as a possible next fight. I mean,
wow,
that's just all kinds of violence.
Brazil. It's interesting that a Brazilian journalist would suggest Brazil versus Brazil. Now we know he is unbiased, or maybe he just wants a Brazilian to win,
or maybe he just wants that ridiculous fight.
Maybe that. All right. On that note, time to say goodbye. UFC 191, as we said, in the books. Demetrius Johnson once again retains his flyweight title, proves to the world once again that he is without a doubt one of the very best fighters on this planet. No doubt about that. Top 3 at this point? Top 2? Number 1?
Are we counting John Jones?
Absolutely.
Top 3.
Top 3. Jones, Aldo,
Uh-huh.
Johnson.
Yep.
Not Johnson over Aldo.
No.
I think on Friday you said Johnson over Aldo.
No. You misunderstand me. You have to
Okay.
listen better.
You said Aldo over Johnson?
Plus, you're a good interview. You have to listen better. I said that he's more well-rounded. I said Johnson's more well-rounded than Aldo. I didn't say he's better. His resume is not as good yet, but he's getting there.
But that's not his fault. He's only fighting who they put in front of him.
Well, it's not my fault.
All right. Let's go home. Good night, everyone. It's been a great weekend here in Las Vegas. It's Esther's birthday. Happy birthday to her. We're going to bed. We're done. By the way, it's Labor Day in the United States and Canada. I don't know if they celebrate Labor Day in other parts of the world. But that means that we're off on Monday for the MMA Hour. But have no fear, we are back on Tuesday. Special edition, stacked edition. We missed last week. Got a lot of exciting guests planned for you, so don't miss it this Tuesday. Got a lot to talk about. We'll see you then. For Marc, I'm Ariel. For everyone here, good night from Las Vegas.